who's been out of work 6 months or longer, or let's just say within the 6 months they took a small part-time job, or they went to work for a temp agency. If they've made less than $6,000 in gross earnings during that 6 months, you can hire this individual and still make use of the hiring incentive training grant. So that's a big change. So before we were dealing with what we call a dislocated worker. Now we're dealing with workers who are underemployed. And I had this happen. I went to a company. He was using temps. He wanted to hire this guy, but he couldn't avail himself of this program. And he said, this is not right. I mean, the guy hasn't even worked with a temp agency that long, but this is a gold star employee. I want this guy based on a week worth of work. He really knows what he's doing. Now that company can make use of the hiring incentive training grant, hire this person, train them internally or externally. You could take that $5,000 and send John McCarthy to get a certification or a local community college to get computer training or sales training, whatever you think was needed for this person to have training to do their job. So it's similar to this OJT program in terms of trying to get that skill base that you need for this employee to do the work for which they're hired to get the skills that are there. So also, if you have a person that you let go, and I think Ethan said you can't bring somebody back for the OJT program. In this program, if you let somebody go and they've been gone for 6 months and you call them back, you can use this program as well. 6 months is the key. 6 months unemployed or longer, all right? And or if they have been unemployed, but they made less than $6,000 within 6 months of hire, the hire incentive training grant works. This equates to $75,000 over 12 months in a calendar year. 15 hires. It's not a one-shot deal. A gentleman called me yesterday. He hired 2 people. He's going to apply for the hire incentive training grant. Now the contract's going to end December 31st. Obviously he's not going to spend $75,000. But as of January 1st, he is going to be hiring more people. He will get a new contract worth $75,000. This is a great deal. Internal training, external training, combination of both. Can you use it with the OJT program? Yes, you can, as long as the training is different. Very rare circumstances, because that's a lot of pressure on a new employee, but I had a company was doing an OJT, was all internal training. They wanted to send this person to get some classroom training, and they were going to use the hire incentive training grant to do that, which was okay, because it was different training. So the object here again is to take a Massachusetts resident who's been out of work. Sometimes they're stigmatized because they've been out of work for a while. Hey, how do I hire them? How much time do I have to spend? What's the skill erosion? They don't know my computer system. Here's an opportunity to get $5,000 to hire that person, to train them, and at the end of 120 days, you send in a payroll record, we give you a $5,000 check. It's not a tax credit. And there are no tax implications on any of these grants. Up to a total of $75,000. Full or part-time hire. If it's a part-time hire within the 4 months before you submit the reimbursement request, you got to show about $2,500 in gross wages. It's minimal hours, really, very minimal hours. Questions on this? Really? This is a neat program. I always got to go back now to that $8.40. So you have access to $75,000 on a new hire for a Massachusetts resident, and that cost is $8.40 a year to access the $75,000 program. And this is just one of the ones I'm going to talk about today. If you have a veteran, and this is real important because veterans are coming back in droves, all the criteria is waived for veterans. I don't care if a veteran's been unemployed for 5 minutes and you hire them. This applies right away. You hire a veteran, file for this reimbursement. All the other criteria is the same in terms of, you know, being there 120 days following the employment situation and, you know, sending us payroll information. But if you hire a vet, a Massachusetts resident, we waived all the waiting periods and all the criteria on money and everything. Again, I get calls pretty constantly. I had a call from a gentleman who just hired 2 vets. They came back from Iraq. They were unemployed. He hired them. I put him online right away. He's going to get $10,000 for these 2 individuals once they've been there 120 days because they were veterans. Forget the rest of the stuff. So it's a good program for veterans. John, could you take that material and bring it up to the woman who just came in? She's down in the corner. So, any questions on this so far? Yes?
Just just wanted, I know you mentioned.
Thanks for the question. I was really panicking.
Well, you're welcome. The 120 days, the employee is hired and they need to be with the company for 120 days before they can access, the company
You
can
can
access
get the
it.
money.
Gotcha.
Now, I had a woman call me the other day and say, my employee just met the 120-day mark. I'm going to file for the hiring incentive training grant. You can't. You have to do it within 30 days of the hire. And I was really felt badly, but I don't have any leeway on this. I'm hoping they're going to make some changes on this down the road, so because these things happen on occasion. But right now, you have a 30-day window of opportunity. Okay? Now, there are certain things that we don't do in this program as well as the other programs that I'm going to talk about. And I have an individual sitting over here who's going to talk about some more state money in different grants that you can get your hands on. I love my job. I love giving away the state's money. This is the best job in the world. It really is. The more I can give away the state's money, the better I feel. So, I got to remember I'm being taped. So, what's not eligible? Temporary workers, contract workers, seasonal workers, high school students, non-Massachusetts residents, all right? Company owners and or their family members, all right, are not eligible. But again, that temporary worker situation, you got to be careful because company could hire a temporary worker. I'm talking about temp agencies and stuff. So again, we got to look at this criteria. How long has this temporary worker been working at a company? The company wants to hire them. How long were they out of work, or how long have they been working for the temp agency, and what's the money situation? The employee will sign an affidavit answering these questions that's attached with the application process. You may not even see this stuff in there right now because that's how new this is. They've got to change the program. They've got to change those affidavits. Okay? Yes?
So if we hire from temp agencies?
If you hire from a temp agency, and that person in the last 6 months working for the temp agency has made less than $6,000 gross wages. That's the key. What are their earnings? Because what we're looking at again is an underemployed individual. Okay? Who knows how long they've been there? They may have only just taken a job. Maybe they've been working only there a month. Their benefits ran out. They're trying to get hands on some money to put food on the table. They're working as a bartender. Who knows where they're working? In the past, I couldn't do anything. No, the program could do anything for this. I refer to the program sometimes when I say like my program. Why? It's like a baby to me. I've been with it since the day it was born, and I've been raising it continually. So I know it's not my program, but it really feels like it sometimes. I'm like a bear mother cub here. You know, my cub's going to protect this program. But so that's why they made the change for the underemployed individuals. Again, if you got a question on a hire, you need to pick up the phone and call me right away. Call my cell. Don't sit there and go, I don't know if I should or should not apply. Call me and I'll help you through the process. All right? Online application, you're going to know within 2 or 3 days that it's been approved. We'll do the compliance check. You'll get a contract good for 12 months on a calendar year. So if you apply now, it's going to end December 31st. But again, you can get a new one as of January. All right? And that compliance check will be done. All right, I got date of change to be announced. Well, it's announced right now. The change has been made, so I got to take that off my website, the PowerPoint as well. That'll be corrected before you get it. It's in effect now. So,
I have one more question.
yes, fire away.
So unemployed for a minimum of 6 months.
Right.
Within what? The last year?
From the
Within
date of hire. From the date you're gonna. If I come to you and I want a job,
Yeah.
the affidavit will say, how long have you been out of work? 8 months. Okay, fine. From the day that you're going to in your interview, from the hiring date when you're going to process, when they're coming in being interviewed for a job, if they've been out of work 6 months or longer,
Okay.
you're eligible. Or if they say, yes, but I worked some part-time jobs, how much did you make within the last 6 months? Okay? Rick. I'm not moving too much, am I? Normally I'd be running up and down here, but I have to be very careful today because I'm on TV here.
Does that certificate, does that stay on file with your company, or do you have to submit that?
The certificate is good for 6 months. Thank you. A very good question. The certificate is good for 6 months, but you need one with every grant you apply for. So if you apply for the hiring grant and now want to apply for an express grant, if the certificate's not 6 months old, you can use it. If it's coming up on 6 months, you want to get a new one. It's good for 6 months. Good question. So I'm going to talk about the express grant now. This is kind of a different grant. Now forget the issue of residency and everything like that. We're dealing now with Massachusetts workers. I don't care where they live, they're in a Massachusetts company. But before I get into the express program, which deals with small companies, one of the things that I need to emphasize is that None of these grants will pay for mandated training by the state or federal government, whether it's on the hiring grant or the express grant or the general program grant or a technical assistance grant. There are certain things we cannot pay for. All right? So in my travels, I found out that the Department of Industrial Accident has a $25,000 safety grant that every company in Massachusetts is eligible for, and very few take advantage of. So Devin here is from the DIA, and at this point, because there's certain things that I can't pay for under the program, like OSHA 10, OSHA 13, CPR, type of stuff, this $25,000 grant you can access along with this program. It has no bearing on the Workforce Training Fund program at all. You can access a safety grant for your company. And I'm going to have Devin come up now and explain what they can do for you in terms of safety training, and then I'll jump back into the rest of my presentation. Go ahead, Devin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm here to talk to you basically to try and give you more money. You're paying into workers' comp, all of you anyway. So you can utilize this money to train your employees for anything that is safety related or health. Each fiscal year, we award up to $25,000 for various organizations for workplace safety training. The goal of this program is to promote health and safety conditions in the workplace through training, education, and preventative programs. Now, you don't have to, we do ask for an injury history on our application. You do not have to show an injury history. It can be a preventative program. So if you wanted to just say, you know, train your employees in first aid CPR as a preventative measure, we would pay for that. You don't have to have somebody, you know, have already needed first aid or CPR in order to get that training from us. The purpose of our grant through the Office of Safety, we're the only state agency in the Commonwealth whose primary function is to provide financial assistance to prevent occupational injury or illness. So, like I said, you know, you can do preventative programs. A lot of times companies that do show an injury history will do some type of safety training and try to then go back and negotiate with their workers' comp insurance to see if they can bring their rates down. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes they, you know, some insurance companies will look at, you know, the training that you've done over the past year and then renegotiate cost with you. The safety grant program, we pay for books, manuals, certification, DVDs, and training hours. So the DVDs would be if you wanted to purchase any type of training DVD, just say like forklift training DVD or a slip, trip, and falls DVD, you could purchase that, we would pay for it, and you could put it into your library to then train new employees that are coming on using these DVDs. We don't pay for your employee hours. So to pull your employees off the floor, we wouldn't pay their wages, but we will pay the trainer's wages and anything associated with the cost of the training. Meaning, you know, we'll pay for the manuals, we'll pay for books, but we'll also pay for, if you were to train the trainer program, so if you're gonna train somebody in your company to now be a trainer, we will pay to train them. And we will also provide, again, just say CPR, if you're going to train somebody in your staff to then train your other employees in CPR and first aid, we would pay for the materials you need to train them, such as mannequins, or we will also pay for trainer AED machines. Sometimes companies will try and get an AED machine. We can't pay for the actual machine, but we can pay for the trainer. So again, anything that is directly related to training, we will pick up the costs for. At the end of the grant, we also pay a 7% administrative fee back to the company based on the amount of the grant monies that you've used. So it's not based on the amount you've applied for, it's at the end of the fiscal year, what you've actually used in that money, we give you back 7% of that. Who is eligible is employees and employers operating within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts whose entire staff, including consultants, is covered by Massachusetts workers' compensation. If you're exempt from workers' compensation, meaning that you're a sole proprietor or you're DBA doing business as or self-insured, A letter simply stating that to us when applying for the grant would be fine. Police and fire, fisheries, and federal employees aren't eligible, but those are really the only people that aren't eligible for this grant. We do require the same as all of the other grants that Mike has talked about, the certificate of good standing, and it's the same rules within, it has to be, you know, obtained within the last 6 months, and that's just submitted with your grant. The process of our safety grant is really simple. We accept applications beginning in May of every year, and organizations are really encouraged to apply quickly, because right now we're doing what we're calling a rolling basis, but we're still working on a fiscal year. So our fiscal year ends June 30th, so we try to accept applications until the money is gone. After June 30th, you would need to reapply for the following fiscal year's application. So that also means that all training after you apply and are accepted for the grant needs to also be completed by the June 30th deadline. Proposals are all reviewed through our office. We're a very small unit, so if you have any questions along the way after looking at this, I gave you my business card, or there's also an email address on the pamphlet. You can email us. We get back to you within 24 hours. Or there's always somebody in the office that can help walk you through the grant process. We have gone out to businesses and helped them. We can't write it for you, but we can kind of, you know, walk you through the process and what you need to do. The application can be done online. It's 5 pages, very simple. We worked really hard to make it easy for companies to access this money. Basically, all we want to know is the need for your training, a little bit about your company, and some budget information. So it's a reimbursement program, meaning that your company will pay the trainers and then we will reimburse you after you pay for the training hours, or materials the same way, it's all reimbursed. Programs begin once applicants are in full compliance with all obligations to the Department of Unemployment Assistance and any other obligations to the Commonwealth. So, like I said, it's basically the certificate of good standing is what we're looking for, to make sure that you know, aren't owing money or anything like that. But again, we're very easy to work with. We want to give back this money. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't know about our program, so we're kind of in the same situation where, you know, we're trying really hard to get rid of these funds and people just aren't utilizing them. So as of right now, I urge you to apply because there is still money on the table. Hopefully, June 30th there will not be.
Can you look to the time frame again? I must have misunderstood because it sounded like you're starting to accept applications in May.
Yes.
Yet they all have to be in, and the training has to be done by June 30th?
We accept applications May, so it would be like the year before.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean?
Yep.
And then, so that our turnaround time, we're really trying to, at this point, because it's halfway through the fiscal year, kind of, we're trying to do a 4 to 6 week turnaround. I can't guarantee that turning around rate. I mean, we are the state of Massachusetts. Sometimes things don't move as quickly as I would like them to, or you would like them to. So that's why we accept applications so early, in case there is a holdup in turnaround time for companies that apply early, that we can get you, you know, rolling, hopefully by July 1st when the budget is signed.
So we would have missed the opportunity for material safety data sheets. It has to be done by December 31st.
You could apply now, because our enrollment is still open now. So you're saying that you have a training that you need to do?
Yes, on material safety data sheets and the new system that's being rolled out, all of our staff need to be trained by that, December 31st of this year.
Okay, like I said, as long as it's a, you know, a safety training, we also don't, now that you just said that to me, it made me think, we do not pay for any online training. Right now, it has to be an actual trainer. And as far, you could still apply, because like I said, as soon as you get the, like that you were approved for your grant, you can begin training. So if you were to apply right now, we could hopefully get you approved quickly and then you could start utilizing those funds.
Is there consideration being given to changing that? A number of employers, you know, we're significant employers, so we have an e-learning tool. The software is called HealthStream, and 90% of our training now is done through that tool, but we do have to pay user access fees for each and every course, so it's still quite an expense that we incur.
We are trying to do that, but again, we can only do so much. We're not the final say. So, I mean, it is something that we're looking at and kind of bringing to the table that a lot of companies, like you say, are using computer training because it's easier to pull one person off of the floor rather than a whole group of people off of the floor to do safety training. So it is something we're working at, but as of right now, we will not pay for any type of online.
We provide CPR and first aid training twice a year, and we've been paying for it for years and years and years. Does it have to be a new program, or could we get reimbursed for that?
You can now get reimbursed for that. And this training grant also you can apply for every year. You don't have to just apply for it once and then it's gone. You're paying into the money. You can apply and use this money every single year. You can do CPR training every year. The only catch is that it needs to be new employees being trained every year. So we won't pay for, just say, the same employee to be recertified every single year under this grant. So when you reapply, you can either reapply for new training for the same employees, or you can train new employees in, just say, CPR and first aid.
But if they're being recertified because their certification ran out, have they considered new employees then? Or is it really just new people?
It's really just new people. We would, because you have never used our training, we will pay for those recerts now.
Okay.
Because you've never received grant money under us,
Okay.
and those people have never been trained under our grant program. So we would pay for all of those recertifications right now, if that's what you're asking. Okay. Yes.
Well, if we have existing employees that the state's requiring us now, just this year, that we need to have certain employees with rescue training for confined space entry. But this is something new to our existing employees. Would that be covered under
Yes.
the existing employees, even though it's new to them?
Yes. And we could train, again, if you have never utilized this grant,
Yeah.
all of your employees would be eligible
Oh.
for that confined space training. It's just once you've used this grant and just say you've trained all of them, those employees, the following
just the new
year,
ones.
it would just be the new ones that would be eligible. But as of right now, yes, you could train the whole company in confined space, and we would pay up to $25,000 for that training.
Okay.
Is there any other, yes?
Is it only looking forward? We just had several people go through first aid CPR in October, so it doesn't look backward, it's only looking
It's
forward.
only, yes, it's only, future trainings. We can't reimburse you for trainings like this. We've had people call and be like, oh, we just did it like yesterday. Unfortunately, again, our hands are tied. We can't, you could do another training for new employees, or next year you could apply, yes, and we would pay for that. Is there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you all. And again, feel free to contact us. We're very easy to work with. We're here to help you. We're not here to make this a difficult process. And, I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thanks. Do you need a break for about 5 minutes to do the bathrooms, get some more coffee, make a quick phone call or something? We've been sitting here for a bit now. I can talk you deaf, dumb, and blind, ladies and gentlemen, for the next 2 hours if you want. But if you'd like a little break, you want to take a 5-minute break, I keep rolling. Break? 5-minute break. Fine. Let's take a quick little break. People like to check in on their messages and stuff. We'll get going in about 5 minutes. Thank you. What I'd like to do at this point is I kind of, I know a lot of people when they first start, they want everybody to introduce themselves and, company name and kind of what you do. I do a little bit differently because I know people can be running late and they show up late and they kind of, oh my God, I'm late. I don't want to say anything. You stop someone as they're trying to sit down and go, introduce yourself. So at this point in the program, before I start talking about the Express Grant, I just like to know who you are, what your company is, and a little bit about what it does, so that everybody has a feel for what's going on. Because the other thing too is I know there are training providers that come to my sessions, and there's a lot of networking that takes place. So there may be a company similar to yours and stuff that you might want to talk to. So when this is all done, you can in fact do some networking, which I have no problem with. So why don't we start here? Your name, your company, a little bit of what your company does.
Sure. My name's John Pollock. I'm a Senior Vice President and General Manager for Tri-State Truck Center. We're a heavy truck dealer located in Shrewsbury. We represent Freightliner, Sterling, Western Star.
Thank you.
Lori Pickering, Girl Scouts, Central Western Mass, and we are leadership development for girls.
Great program, great place.
Dave Ross with a company called Nitto Avicia in Milford. We make active pharmaceutical ingredients, something specifically known as an oligonucleotide, which is sort of synthetic DNA and siRNA.
I'm Michelle Novak, Venture. We're an environmental company, do hazardous waste removal, remediation, emergency response, oil spills.
I'm Lynn Susi, Worcester Historical Museum, and we protect and preserve Worcester's history.